Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody, and welcome to The Colors of the NT. This is a podcast brought to you by the UMNT, and we discuss all things multiculturalism here. We are coming to you from the Shuyukh Gala Dinner, which is being organized by UMNT for the second time around. This is an annual event that we conduct to honor the seniors of our community. And I think it gels in very well with today's theme that we have for our podcast today, which is about getting advice from our community seniors for our young people. We have two very special guests with us today. Welcome to you. We have Dr. Farha Sattar as well as Dr. Khalid Khan. Welcome to both of you. They both are academicians at the Charles Darwin University. Dr. Khalid is originally from India, and he has a PhD in pure mathematics, and he's currently a lecturer at CDU. Dr. Farha is originally from Pakistan, and she has, and forgive me if I mess this up, you can always correct me, she has a PhD in geoinformatics with a specialization in spatial mathematical modeling. A mouthful and also a testament to her achievements, inshallah. First of all, welcome to both of you, and I guess I'll just start by asking, how was the dinner tonight?
That was really good, and I really appreciate the UMNT to organize that. And now I see that is sort of an annual event for you guys. But at the same time, I reckon it as something acknowledging the seniors in the community who have contributed a lot towards the developing, the Muslim community here. And I really appreciate all of your efforts regarding that. Very well done.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you both gave presentations during the dinner. Dr. Khalid was giving us a bit of an overview of the story of the Muslims in the Northern Territory, but also kind of a testament to the fact that multicultural people have contributed so much to the fabric of the NT. Would you like to say something to that?
First of all, let me just go on the side. You're calling me a senior, but I consider myself as a pretty junior.
I know, I was going to get into trouble for this.
I second that, because I still reckon that the age is just a number. Yes, you are younger or old from heart.
I'm out there to learn, and I actually become more younger in the presence of the young people. So this is the whole idea. Regarding the question was about, you said something about multicultural.
The story of multicultural people. You gave a presentation upon the story of Muslims in the Northern Territory. If you wanted to add something to that,
I would just say a few things on in regard to what we are doing and what's our contribution. Sometimes we do things that we don't plan to do things, but we do. So if your basics are right, I think you will always contribute positively. Society don't do it consciously that I have to do something positive in order to be recognized as being positive. But if you believe in something and you're confident about that, you will definitely contribute to the society without you being recognized or not being recognized. And many of the seniors that I know, and I possibly didn't name them in my presentation, they were faceless. There were people there who were working hard, and they didn't want their name to be there, and they didn't leave any traces of their work in the sense of being someone to identify them. But their contribution was, I think, probably more than many people. I didn't name, Brother Anwar Lamaya, for example. His contribution towards making sure that our premises looks nice and neat and clean and beautiful, the gardening. Many others like Dr. Waqar, the contribution he made in order to have this vision of having a community hall, and not only the community hall for the Muslim but for the general community out there. And that this required some sort of vision from the people, and I think this is what the seniors bring in, that they bring some vision to you, and with this vision you reap the fruits when they're not there.
That's 100% true, and I think from both of your presentations and based upon what you said, I think we as young people can always realize that when we're doing things, don't do it for the sake of achievement, don't do it for the sake of recognition. Just keep doing what you're doing in the best possible way you can, and inshallah, in this world or akhirah, you're going to get the recognition for it. So based upon these wise words that you've mentioned to us, I think I'll narrow it down to. Not narrow it down, but I might pivot it towards I guess, your careers, and so both of you are very passionate and a big proponents of education, STEM education, as well as critical thinking, and that's kind of has brought you to the place where you are and the contribution that you've brought to the community. So I guess from that perspective, I would like to hear from you what advice you would have for the young people of the Northern Territory.
What I see, that the critical thinking is really something that's the ability to make the decision based upon the data, the facts, and bring all that information in place. That you should be able to evaluate that based upon the reasoning and in a logical way, because now what I see here that we are living in digital era. And we see that a lot of information is around. We see technology is there, and which I reckon as something that we are overloaded with information. And experts say is in foglet, that when you have too much information, then I think you can't just rely on each and everything. You should be able just to evaluate that. And what is the reliable sources? What are the authenticated sources from which you can evaluate that information based upon your observation objectively, and then how you make your decision, which are logical. There are no biasness should be there. So that will be my advice. And I think the critical thinking is such an important thing that is really important in every phase of life. Not really just making some scientific decision. I think in every part of our life that is important.
If you want to ask me regarding the education system, I'm basically a critic of the education system. To me, the current education system is not teaching the skills that possibly our generation is going to face in future, or basically they're facing current now. One thing that we need to know is, as a young person, how do we know what we know?
Yeah.
Okay, so going beyond simply knowing, and also the distinctions between and the differences between facts and beliefs, and how do you distinguish between fake and the real, and what's truth? So all these questions that are there, the education system at the moment, as I see it, and the way I have gone through it, is basically answer-based questions, answer-based system.
Yeah.
So you have the teacher who come to the classroom and ask the questions, and the students are supposed to answer the question the teacher wants. And this is how you succeed in the education system, that you just provide the answers that the teachers were looking for, and you get the marks accordingly. At nowhere we encourage students to frame their own questions and then try to figure out the answers. So if we as teachers can teach students to question ourselves, question our beliefs, question our own sense making of things. Once you start questioning, you start getting the answers that will really satisfy you, and you will have probably more sound understanding of your own religion, or whatever you do. And from that position, you can go anywhere, because your basics will be strong. Your foundations become strong because you have questions. You have questioned everything. So my suggestion to youth is question everything. You might not find the answers for everything, but if you stop questioning, you will never get any answer. So that's the key thing about the questions. It's a long story, if you would like to give me a few more things. So the first thing, there are three things in any study, any learning that you do. There are three things. The first one is the epistemology. How do we know what we know, or the meaning, the dictionary, or the definitions? Where do I get these? As Farah said, find the authentic sources.
Yeah.
This is the age of not only lots of information. This is the age of misinformation and disinformation.
Yes.
So that means I'm reading a book these days. It's called the New Dark Age. And it tells you about the dark age. Doesn't mean that you are living in a cave or in the old age or the stone age. It means that you are the inability to see what is in front of you. So this is the problem, that we have so much of the information, so much of the things that are coming out in our youth's way, that they don't know how to navigate, where to find the authentic sources, and the right information. So that's the first thing, knowing what you know in the epistemology part. The second part is the ethics. what is ethical? Where do you get? Where do you drive your values? Your personal biases, as you said. Then, how do you get out of your biases? And so finding out not the biases of the others, but try to figure it out what biases you carry yourself. So that's the second thing that you need to look at, and this guides you in every
Yeah.
walk of life. And the last one is regulation of your own mind, the habits of mind. That's what we call as. How do you change your own behavior? How do you reflect inside out about things? And this is where what we teachers call pedagogy part. How do you teach something? How do you learn something? So that's the science of learning. Regulating the habits. So this is what the critical thinking is all about. That's my advice. To go
So
beyond
epistemology, ethics, and
the
regulation of your
habits,
mind.
habits of mind.
Yes, there you go. 3 takeaways for all of us. Thank you. I think I'll ask a question directed to... Thank you so much, Dr. Khalid. I will also ask a question directed to Dr. Farha. You talked about authentic sources and you talked about your journey as well previously. I suppose more so because I suppose in multicultural communities all across the world, sometimes our young women, our young females are not at the forefront of education at times. Not every. Alhamdulillah, we're very lucky in Australia. We're in a very privileged position, but in other countries perhaps not. What message would you like to give young women, specifically young girls, in order to achieve whatever they want to achieve in their life?
Yeah, I think I think they are just based upon your determination and that believe in yourself, and with hard work and determination, I believe anything can be achieved. And regarding particularly the participation of girls and women, which I see as an educator in STEM-related career, we don't have much, that the representation of girls and women in STEM-related career here. So where I see that where maybe we should encourage girls and women just to adopt the career. Maybe we should, provide the all the the inspiration, or maybe as an educator what I see that maybe involving the young girls and women in STEM related careers, but do something that the activities that where they build their interest. And I reckon that the foundation years, they are really important. So that's the responsibility and duties of teachers and educators, that we should really emphasize on that part. That I think that's the stage that where we can incline the young girls towards the science and STEM education. And at the same time, I don't see much that the qualified teachers in science and STEM. So that's also a big gap here and that's also verified by the statistics, with the recent statistics in Australia. And government is also doing a lot of the efforts just to promote that, inspired the young Australian, particularly women and girls in STEM area. And that's also related to my research interests and my community work, that how we can bring innovative approaches how in our teaching, and how we can use the different innovative ways, maybe involve them more like the hands-on practice kind of activities, to bring experiential learning into action. That give them the lifelong learning. And because this also brings the discussion that how we are preparing our students, that are they ready to cope with the challenges of 21st century, that requires not only in education, but a skill is really in demand. So skill, the technological skill, computational thinking, critical thinking, they are the part of the 21st century job market as well. So I think these are, that they should be the point of emphasis for teachers, for the organizations, for the institutes, whoever are involved in providing education to girls and to women, and overall, to the Australians.
So I suppose what I'm gathering from what you said is like we need to highlight more inspirational role models for young girls and young people of any gender for that matter, but especially young girls. But also we have to incorporate innovative practices in our education system was Dr. Khalid was mentioning, um, it's good but not quite there yet. So based upon that, I mean, I suppose as a young person who's still, and I'll ask this closing question to both of you. I mean, we as young people are in the current education system as it is, and I suppose we rely on our educators to provide us with those opportunities for questioning, critical thinking, innovative approaches. However, what can young people themselves do without completely being reliant on their educators to upskill themselves and to improve themselves in STEM education, critical thinking, and all of these fields, which will be important for them to tackle the challenges of the 21st century?
Can I take the lead?
Yeah, sure.
I'll tell you something what I did in order to learn things. I was lucky enough to have good friends, and I was lucky enough to have at least 2 or 3 people all the time in my life who were far better than me. So there was always something for me to learn from them. So this is in the early days, during when I was learning. Whenever I didn't know anything, I used to go to my teachers and ask, things from them. So there were people who had these knowledges. Now, the current generation, you don't have to do that. You don't need to go there. Almost all the information is there on the internet. But the problem with the internet is how do you find the authentic sources? Because one of the skills that you need to know, how do you separate the irrelevant from the relevant? And also stay focused, because once you are there, it's just like a dump. You'll find out one thing and this thing, and you don't know how to stay focused and get what you really are looking for. So stay focused, find out the authentics and the irrelevant, and this is what it is. But basically, I struggle with the questions like this. The reason is I always struggle because how do you teach skills for tomorrow today? Okay, so that's the problem. What should I advise you? Because I don't know your challenges that you are going to face in tomorrow's world. The second challenge that always comes to us as educators is when we were learning, the information was not this much. But over the last 10 years, almost 90% of the information has been generated in the last 10 years. So how do you compress this vast amount of information and gives you the presentation in 10 minutes of what you should learn and what you should do? So that's the second challenge that we go through as educators. So I'll tell you 2 things. Question everything.
Yes.
Second is find out where to find help.
Yeah.
So that's second skill you need to carry yourself. So question and where to find help.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm more like that the first thing is that whatever you are learning, so you have to be focused into that. So that's the main thing. So stay focused, and then get the relevant information. And once you have that, so evaluate that information, and then see that whether is that really something that the authentic information. And then which I will say, because on the internet a lot of resources are available, and I think you can, if you are well informed about that what is a reliable information, that also gives you the ability to evaluate the information. So just get that, and then that based upon that, then you can just work with your learning. So stay focused, and then mainly maybe using the authenticated and reliable information. That's the main thing. And then maybe you're hardworking. So whatever you are doing in your learning, that's you have to really give that the required study hours. You have to be really
no shortcuts, as you mentioned.
Not shortcuts. Yes, of course. And so that's main thing, because the learning phase is really important.
Yes.
And if you're not really paying too much attention into that, so you may not really bringing out all the learning outcomes, so what you are supposed to do. So that's an educator. That's my advice to the young people.
Jazakallah khair.
Can I just say one last thing? Don't try to solve all the problem yourself. Okay.
Seek help.
Yes, seek help. And particularly this is the online era, so most of the time we are sitting in our rooms trying to figure out things ourselves. So that's
it's very easy to
it's quite easy to get into depression.
No, actually really, really good advice from both of you. I guess if I were to summarize, you guys are telling us to question everything we come across, just to be critical in what we're thinking, to sort through everything, all the information, the infobicity people talk about nowadays, sort through all of that and develop tools or learn tools in order to get the relevant information, identify authentic information, and not cocoon yourself actually, and to actually participate in collaborative approaches where get good friends, get good mentors, get good educators, and when you're stuck, ask for help rather than just use the internet. I think someone once told me, like, you always need a human teacher. You might have the internet, you might have books, but you still need a human teacher, which is why we brought both of you as educators to our podcast. So
just add one thing here. I think just from the last 2 years, COVID have also,
Yes.
taught us a lot of things. We have resources and information available, like most of the universities in that particular part I have seen, they have just transformed from their face-to-face
Yes.
lecturing to the online.
Online.
And even the other resources are also,
Yes.
and even, that can also contribute
Yes.
a lot
Yes,
towards,
yes.
because now you have more information available
Yeah.
for your learning, and so that's another thing that you should also consider.
Yes.
That
100%. Jazakumullah khair to both of you, and thank you so much for our viewers for joining us to this edition of Colors of the NT podcast, and hopefully we see you again in our next podcast. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.